This is the biggest tip. And when I did this, it was life changing. I felt like a grown up for the first time.
That's honestly some of the best advice I've ever had on fixing consumer credit or ever heard. I love that you're as much of a giver as you are. I think it's so cool because you literally give away trade secrets that, most people think it's crazy, right? Because you're literally teaching people how to do what you do. And obviously you do it at 100 times level than anybody will be able to do it on their own. But I love the fact that you are such a giver the way that you are. And on that same line of thought, consumer credit, where do people screw this up? Like, it's still baffling to me that some people don't think that fixing credit is even possible. So, like, where do you see that people are messing it up? Where when they come to you, they if they did these things better or right, they would be in a better path to be able to have good credit on the consumer side.
That's a great question. In my opinion, from my own clients and years of having a credit repair business, my personal opinion is a lot of people look at credit in the wrong way in terms of they don't look at it as money you have to pay back. They look at it as, ooh, this is money that I can spend. And anytime you look at credit as money that you can spend, you end up going through this bad habit or creating and developing a bad habit to, let's say, for example, you get approved for a $5,000 credit card. Your last credit card was 2,500. So you shouldn't think about it as, ooh, I have double the money to spend. It should be, okay, now this is going to allow me to have a lower credit utilization, for example. This is going to allow me to build and scale the capital that is available to me in an emergency. Those are the small tweaks. The mindset is the biggest issue because, and I've done it too. The first credit card I ever got, at 18, I checked the mail one day and I had a credit card. I'm like, it was like a Bank of America offer. And I'm like, ooh, what's this? I can get a credit card? And I'm still essentially a kid in my head. And so I activated that credit card and I went and bought some shoes. I went, bought some clothes. I just kind of was balling out. And it was only a $300 limit, but to me, it was a lot of money. And so next thing I know, I'm not dumb. I knew that there was a time I had to pay it back, but I wasn't even thinking of a strategy of how and when I was going to pay it back. I just thought it was cool that I had this money available to me. And so if people were to just make that mindset adjustment to say, okay, this is an extension of my debit card. This is an extension of my checking account. I should not be spending any money on my credit card that I don't have on my debit card. And or I can maybe at worst look at this as a payday loan. Like, okay, I get paid Friday. I'm kind of short on money. It's Monday. Let me use my credit card. And then when I do get paid, let me pay it back. That's the biggest issue to me because credit cards, as you know, especially in the year 2023, moving into 2024, the American debt in terms of credit cards have gone through the roof, and it's because of bad spending habits. So people make that small tweak. I think credit repair and credit will be much better because people are having all these missing payments show up. And of course, things happen. We all go through a financial hardship. But when you have that mindset adjustment to know that you should only be spending what you can afford to spend in the first place, you can alleviate some of that unnecessary debt.
Yeah, that's honestly some of the best advice I've ever had on fixing consumer credit or ever heard is just stop thinking of these credit limits as money you can spend. And that one massive tweak in mindset, I mean, it's significant. It changes everything because that's exactly how it is. I mean, it's interesting you say, I mean, people double their limit, they think they have double the money to spend. I love that. Beyond fixing it, what about maintaining it? Like, what is your best advice to somebody to not get to a point where the credit has to be fixed outside of the mindset of stop thinking that's just money there to spend? What are some of the best tips you have of maintaining a healthy consumer credit profile?
Even if you have good credit or you don't plan to ever use credit, it's best to at minimum understand how credit works. Understanding that, your FICO 8 score is going to be your traditional credit score that you should go based off of. And, even though Credit Karma is a great app, it looks cool, it does a great job of teaching you and kind of giving you a heads up and understanding of what credit is. You at minimum should understand what impacts your credit. That way, let's say you come to my company or any other credit repair company, or even if you repair your own credit, once you get to the point where you don't have any more derogatory items and you're in good standing, what next? Right? I'm going to talk about mindset a lot here, Ty. I'm not going to lie, because it has a lot to do with what we're talking about. Moving forward, you really need to look at your credit and your credit score as a tool. And it's an ongoing thing that is a live document, so to speak, to know what your credit standing is. And this kind of segues perfect into business credit too, because as you know, with business credit, it's all about your risk factor. So when you improve your personal credit, your consumer credit, it's not like, okay, cool. Because I think a lot of people think, well, I just need to get my credit score up to a certain point so I can buy a house. And once I buy that house or I get that car, I'm good. But no, now you need to make sure that you are making your payments on time. As simple as this may sound, pay your bills, folks. It's really that simple. Make sure you pay your bills. This is the biggest tip. And when I did this, it was life changing. I felt like a grown up for the first time. I put my credit cards and all of my bills on auto pay.
People don't understand that I'm an adult.
That alone is probably the biggest tip that I have for folks. Now, of course, I understand if you're living paycheck to paycheck, it may be hard to put something on auto pay, but you should also, like, I have an iPhone. Even if you don't have an iPhone, you probably have a Notes app. So there's a Notes app. And every month I take my time and I write out all of my bills. I categorize them by the due date and I check them off every single month, almost like balancing a checkbook. And I'm making sure that all my bills are paid. And I don't move on to the next month until I've paid all of my bills. And that way you don't ever have to worry about anything being over 30 days late, even though that's something that everyone should know as well. Even if you are 3 weeks late, it's not going to affect your credit. You'll have a late fee, but just making sure that you make your payment before it hits day 31. That way it doesn't report. And a lot of times, these creditors, even from my own experience, even if you are over 30 days late, they'll give you another chance to pay the 2 months that you're past due before they report that you were ever 30 days late. So it's calling these creditors and letting them know when you're in financial distress. A lot of times they'll work with you. So when you have good credit or you're working to get to the point where you have good credit, just get in that habit of not looking at the credit bureaus or the creditors as the enemy. Work with them to make sure that you can maintain that good credit. That open line of communication is everything. And one more thing, because I used to do this all the time, even when you get a late payment, call them. You'll be surprised how many times they'll remove the late fee, or how many times, like I said, they will give you some more time before they report that late payment to the credit bureaus. A lot of times we just shut down and we think, I missed the payment. Dang, it's going to jack up my credit. I might as well just not even pay until the next month and use this money to, go to the restaurant or whatever. No, call them, talk to them, see what they're willing to do.
Yeah, I say there's rarely a problem in life communication won't solve. So I absolutely love that advice, because most people tend to run and hide when there's a problem like that. But like you said, it's astonishing on how much credit issuers want to work with you. It's just a matter of opening that line of communication.